Hello and welcome to the finals of the Lunaris 3v3 draft tournaments in the North American region. I'm your host, Mr. Rocks 1337, and today we have Team Unity going against Team Intensity VG. Unity taking the A side and Intensity taking the B side. We should be looking at which teams, which heroes they be banning. Because in the past few games, we've been noticing that a lot of Barons have been banned, a lot of Grumpjaws have been banned, and as a counter, that's a Baron ban again by Intensity VG. For the past few games, we did notice a lot of aggressive play coming from Intensity, so they do not want Baron to be present anywhere close to themselves. That's an Idris ban coming in from Unity, possibly to pick up Vox, and that's what they exactly did. So that's a counter, Glaive, and Catherine. So you'd be expecting a lot of out-positioning, a lot of stuns and silences coming in from Intensity VG, but they still do not have any range damage dealers. So either they're going in for an all-in dive comp, or they're possibly going in for a... well, they're hovering on the Baptiste, so we're possibly looking at a lot of lockdowns. And the Grace and Samuel pick, very good picks coming in from Team Unity, so you're possibly looking at a lot of... zoning and sieging coming in from Team Unity. So we're possibly looking at either a Catherine or Celeste or a Baptiste pick, and that's a Celeste pick against Samuel. Very good picks. They both have been really powerful, and they are not that bad when it comes to scaling from early game, and in the late game, they both do a lot of damage, especially Celeste if she managed to land all of her Heliogenesis and Supernova onto her enemies. Possibly looking at a Glass Cannon on Celeste, because if she builds more damage, that means that you can expect a lot more of the spook coming in from Celeste onto anyone who tries to dive deep into the allies of Celeste, that is Glaive and Catherine. Game has started. Unity and Intensity VG are ready to play this for the finals. It's going to be a best of 3 rounds, so it's not only just going to be one win that wins the game, so we're possibly going to be looking at a lot of thought put into the drafts this time. That's a stun coming onto Grace. That's the first stack for Catherine onto Grace, but Grace does a lot of damage with the Benediction, and Catherine being severely harassed by Fadito. Glaive, on the other hand, stays in the lane. Vox and Samuel doing a pretty good job moving around as a team in the back lines, collecting the extra creeps, the jungle minions, so that they both can share some experience with each other. Not a lot of center tree and aggression noticed in the first minutes. Possibly they're playing it out passively so that they can see how both teams play in the games. Gonna be aggressive, gonna be defensive, depending on how the opponent team plays out. This is a mindset for both the teams right now, as no one wants to go in way too deep. Glaive does come back up in lane. That's an attempted merciless pursuit onto Vox with War on Vox. Sonic zooms away from danger, allows Grace to come back up in lane to harass Catherine. Catherine does have her stun. In 5 seconds, Glaive does have his afterburn, so there is a chance of them diving in, pushing Vox inside the enemy, inside the allied turret. Absence of Samuel and Celeste giving Intensity and Unity a chance to play passively, but Unity decide to be aggressive, jump into Glaive, dish out a lot of damage. Glaive decides to do an aggressive afterburn, but gets away using his boots. That's an attempted zoning coming in from Fadito with his Holy Nova. Intensity, Cause going in way too deep, trying to stun out Vox. Vox gets severely damaged. That's a Holy Nova stunning all 3, but that's a first blood coming in from Intensity VG, and that's a basic shot tracking Grace. Grace gets away with a sliver of hell. Cause just managed to miss both the Mouse and Vertex. Savage Ochi's back up in the lane, gonna dish out some severe damage if he decides to stay in battle and pulls out his Drifting Dart, which is out and ready, so Kaz does miss his Centurion, but Grace up in the lane does decide to protect the lane from any damage coming in from I'm Not a Troll. That's an attempted gank onto I'm Not a Troll, but they decide to stay passive and move back, trying to find out where Catherine is so that Vox can farm easily without a lot of danger. Afterburn coming on to Fadito. Fadito getting pushed back into the lane and tries to move into the top bush, but gets badly positioned and dies to Glaive with his twisted stroke shots. Celeste doing a lot of damage with the Heliogenesis, dishes out nearly 200 damage on both Vox and Samuel, forcing them to move back, because once it goes Supernova, you'd be expecting about 300, 350 shot explosion damage, so that's going to be a lot of danger coming on to Vox. Vox getting triple stunned, and now he gets immediately picked off from the game, and Samuel, on the other hand, is now taking a lot of damage with the Malice and Verdicts and the Heliogenesis shots, and Celeste tried to avenge the death of the damage coming on to Catherine, but dies instead to the Malice and Verdicts. Samuel and Grace decide to be extremely aggressive and go on the backsides of Team Intensity VG. Crystal Sentry is back up into the jungle trying to harass Savage OG, but Savage does manage to get his way. No, he does not get away. Instead, he gets caught out by Celeste and does die to Celeste. Fadito, on the other hand, manages to steal the center Treant, so denies a healing spot from Intensity VG. Intensity VG trying to get back all the gold that they lost. 1-4, although you're looking at a 200 gold lead, I'm Not a Troll does manage to steal the Treant. Does get caught out by the Crystal Sentry and Team Unity out positioning Glaive. Glaive getting badly positioned by the Vox, and Unity managed to afterburn away from any sort of danger. That's a fountain coming in on Intensity VG, saving I'm Not a Troll from any possible danger. Ko is forced to use his reflex block to save himself from Celeste's stun. Good attempts, good section, and good protection coming in from Intensity VG, but Vox getting caught out by an afterburn, getting immediately stunned out by the collapse coming in from Catherine. That's a sleep on to Intensity VG coming in from Savage OG, and that's one dead Glaive, and Catherine is now taking a lot of damage coming from the Malice and Verdicts. Plot doing a lot of damage. A lot of work to protect himself and turret, but dies to his Holy Noah and the Drifting Dark Malice Verdict combo. Very, very powerful sectioning coming in from zoning coming in from Samuel and Grace. That's an afterburn coming in from I'm Not a Troll, pushing away some Vox from the turret, saving the turret from any extra damage. Pushing the minions deeper into the enemy's side, saving his turret for at least the next few seconds. That's Merciless Stun coming on to Kuis, but Kuis gets away from any extra damage coming in from I'm Not a Troll. Celeste in a very bad position. Samuel taking a lot of damage from the afterburn. That's a fountain coming on to save Samuel from the damage. So a lot of Heliogenesis shots severely harassing Savage. Plot taking a lot of damage from Vox and Grace combined. That's a lot of damage. That's one dead. Catherine, Kaz, and I'm Not a Troll trying to harass, split focused, and Savage does manage to get Celeste while I'm Not a Troll gets away with his afterburn. Fadito doing a very good job positioning himself over Kuis, so making I'm Not a Troll miss his basic shots against Vox all the time. Crystal Sentry is back to assist I'm Not a Troll in taking out Fadito, and Fadito does die to the Crystal Sentry and Glaive. Kuis, on the other hand, saving up a lot of minions to push into the enemy tower, turret, whatever you may call it. Plot does manage to stun Kuis. Kuis gets away from the attempted afterburn coming in from I'm Not a Troll. I'm Not a Troll does not have enough energy for a afterburn. As afterburn, if you're going weapon power, you need a lot of energy in your pocket. But Kaz, on the other hand, trapping a lot of Heliogenesis shots, harassing Kuis, but Kuis gets away from any possible extra damage, uses reflex block to save himself from the last few shots coming in from the basics of Kaz and gets away from possible death. Good job coming in. Good job, Cois, by using this reflex block. Although you're not looking at a lot of crystal defenses coming in from Team Unity. You can say the same thing for Team Intensity VG as well, because both carries do not have any crystal protection. Glaive, on the other hand, has himself a Sour Blade and Poison Shiv. Vox does not have any tier 3 items in his pocket yet, and from the looks of it, it looks like he is possibly going towards a Poison Shiv. That's a missed ultimate coming in from Celeste, and Fredito forced to get away from the Heliogenesis shots. Heliogenesis in about 8 minutes, the item spike and the level spike does a lot of damage. Ku is getting out positioned and severely stunned and forced to move away. Fredito, on the other hand, is forced to use his reflex block, and his Fountain does manage to die. Does not manage to save Vox. Kaz continues to harass Savage OG with the Heliogenesis shots. Goldmine has currently been looked after. A lot of damage coming out of Goldmine, and Fredito trying to steal the Gold Miner from under Intensity VG. Intensity VG confirmed the gold payout, and that's going to be 1 kill for Unity, but 2 kills for Intensity VG. A very good 2-1 trade coming in for Intensity VG. Unity have to think about their positioning if one of their members are not in close to the fight at all. A lot of damage coming onto Vox, and Vox gets immediately destroyed by the Heliogenesis and the Twisted Strokes coming in from I'm Not a Troll. Grace does dive into Glaive. Glaive after burns Samuel away from any damage, and Samuel does manage to get away from any possible excessive damage by using a reflex block that Fredito popped off at the last few moments, and continues to drop in a lot of Malice and Verdicts, getting a tongue twister between Merciless and Malice's plot gets away from any possible damage coming in from Fredito and Cois. And the Glaive and Vox and Grace are really powerful, as they can dive into the enemy's side almost instantly and possibly delete one of the few enemies on the enemy team. That's the silence coming on to Vox and Grace. Grace does get out positioned and possibly going to be deleted by Kaz and I'm Not a Troll, but gets away using a dive onto Catherine in the last few seconds. Heliogenesis shots doing a lot of damage on Savage OG whenever he goes Supernova, and Grace is forced to use a heal on Savage OG. That's an attempted sleep, but sleep does get blocked off. Savage OG getting out position. That's afterburn into Savage, and he's taking a lot of damage from the Glaive shots. And finally, one of the ultimates coming in from Cause connected. Most of them were all constantly missing, but this one did not miss, and that's a lot of diving coming in from Intensity VG, taking out Vox by outpositioning him, and Grace forced to run away, use her boots, and get behind her turret, because that's the only thing that she can do right now. Intensity, one thing that they're doing for sure is whenever Celeste comes back up in the lane, they send Glaive to use an afterburn to pick off one of the few targets and constantly focus down that specific target and immediately delete him and continue moving on to the next target. Savage OG just missed his second heal treant. So you're looking at a lot of energy reserves coming in for Intensity VG. That's an afterburn attempt onto Savage OG. Savage takes a lot of damage from a lot of abilities coming in from Intensity VG, but does get away with a sliver of health. Crystal Sentry taking a lot of damage. He will die against Intensity VG. Intensity VG will probably decide to cast the next gold miner. They might get this gold, possibly around 200 gold in their pockets. essentially pushing the goal lead further, but Catherine gets severely damaged, and Celeste does manage to steal the gold miner from Unity, so that's one good thing. But Unity decide to stay in the enemy lines and lose their Vox almost immediately because of Twisted Stroke and Bloodsong. Savage OG forced to use his Merciless Pursuit while moving backwards, and Savage does die to a Twisted Stroke coming in from I'm Not a Troll. Very good play coming in from Glaive by using his boots in the last few moments to stick onto Samuel and take him out almost immediately. Although they did not manage to get the ace, they will be able to push the minion wave into the enemy turret, possibly take it out. But Vox does come up in the lane. That's a lot of damage coming onto the turret. 300 damage coming in onto Kuis. Kuis is forced to use his reflex block, and 700 damage. Vox cannot survive the burst damage coming in from the Heliogenesis shots, and that's one down turret. That's two down turrets, and now Fadido is forced to move in the backlines. I'm Not a Troll gets away from the basic shots coming in from Savage OG, and they do get away from Samuel by a stun coming in from Cause. Savage OG getting severely focused by I'm Not a Troll and Cause. That's an attempt to catch the heal, and they do not manage to get the heal. Fadido instead gets the heal, so I'm Not a Troll and Cause are now forced to go in the backlines and retreat back into their jungle, as that is all that they can do in this current situation. Unity trying to go deep into the enemy lines, trying to get someone or the other, but they do not, as I'm Not a Troll gets the front treant, so he will turn around and possibly toss in another afterburn. They do not decide to do that. Instead, they will decide to rotate top, block out Kuis, outposition him, but no, Kuis does notice an attempt, so gets away from the minions and retreats almost immediately, saving himself. Savage OG on the other hand gets severely caught out and does not manage to survive a lot of stuns coming in from Intensity VG and dies almost immediately. Fadido tosses in an Atlas onto Glaive, but that's all that Grace can possibly do. That's an ultimate coming in from Cause and does manage to connect onto Vox and Grace. That's recall coming in from Grace, from Celeste and Glaive. Catherine on the other hand does go to the jungle shop, trying to get more vision, more flares in the pocket, and possibly Halcyon Chargers. That's Halcyon Chargers indeed, and now she decided to go towards cooldown, so possibly Vision or a Stormcrown would be expected. Intensity VG decided to capture the Kraken right under in Unity's nose. Vox cannot do anything as he does not have enough defensive items, and Kraken does get easily captured by Intensity VG. Unity, Vox getting severely caught out, but a Holy Nova saving Vox from any possible dive. Samuel getting heavily outpositioned by Intensity VG, gets immediately deleted by the collapse stun, and Vox cannot get away from the damages coming in from Catherine. One stun and she's possibly going to win the fight, and that's possibly going to be another an ace coming in from Intensity VG. Very good play coming in from Intensity, catching out Samuel firstly and immediately moving on towards deleting Vox and finally getting Grace. You're looking at about an 8k goal lead for Intensity VG against Team Unity, so this is possibly going to be game 1 confirmed for Intensity against Unity if they manage to push Samuel behind enemy lines. But I'm Not a Troll taking a lot of damage from the turret shot. That's the first Vang turret down, and Celeste finally dies to the shots coming in from Vox and Samuel. That's a lot of focus coming on to Celeste, so they possibly might know what the winning condition right now is. Focus down Celeste as soon as possible, and immediately after that focus down Glaive. So the Kraken does die, but Unity does not have any Vang turrets left, so Intensity VG have all the opportunity to go behind enemy lines and catch out Unity and take out the Vang turret. Samuel using his Drifting Dart, tossing in a lot of damage with the Malice and Verdicts, but Glaive trying to take out the Crystal, but now does get caught out by Vox, Grace, and Samuel. Cannot do anything, so he will decide to lose his life towards Vox and Samuel. Samuel does die to Celeste with an ultimate. That's kiss that Kuis gives away towards Celeste for getting that kill. Good play, good snipe coming in from Kaz, but he does get caught out by the scout traps. So Intensity, Team Unity do know where the jungler of Intensity VG is at this moment. Grace and Celeste just walking around, looking at each other, and now playing it passively, as that's what they can do. That's an attempted stun ultimate onto Vox. That's a connected ultimate, and now Kuis is forced to go into the backlines, go play defensively, as Vox cannot survive the damage coming in from Catherine. Tries to get away from the stun from Catherine, but a Vanguard and a Stormguard, and Vox kills himself with the basic shots. I'm not a troll, positioning himself behind Fadito, and Savage OG is ready for an attempted ambush towards the Vein Crystal. Glaive is ready to walk inside the Unity base and pushes away Samuel from inside his Drifting Dart, but he uses boots and gets right inside the Drifting Dart to empower his Malice and Verdict. A lot of damage coming onto Glaive, but Glaive continues to damage the Vein Crystal, reflex blocks the Oblivion, and now continues to damage the Vein Crystal. Possibly going to be a good first game for Intensity VG against Unity. Good plays coming in from Glaive by picking out targets and then letting Plot and Cause focus down this picked up targets. Unity might have to work on their vision control and on their defensive purchases, as Vox is suffering a lot in the early few minutes, but in later few minutes did manage to dish out a lot of damage onto Celeste. With that, we come to the end of the first round, and we shall now proceed with the second round. After switching teams, we'll come back right after a 2-minute break, and then we'll continue with the next game. Hello and welcome to the second game of the finals for the Lunaris North American 3v3 draft tournaments. We have Unity on the B side and Intensity VG on the A side. Intensity did take the game really well against Unity, forcing Unity to play very defensively in the early few minutes and allowing their Celeste to take out Vox almost immediately every time they started to teamfight. We're looking at another Baron ban. Anytime Intensity plays in a draft, we constantly look at a Baron being banned against their team. So that's a lot of fear for Intensity, or possibly a lure out by Intensity against Team Unity. But Unity countered it with a Vox ban. So Intensity VG decided to pick up Catherine once again. Very good place coming in from the Catherine in the previous game from Plot, as he managed to stun out targets almost successfully all the time and immediately section out the targets and immediately focus them down, allowing Intensity to confirm kills all the time. Every time, most of the times, the stuns landed. So Kestrel and Lyra being picked. Kestrel as a weapon power dishes a lot of damage with the glimmer shots and basic shots if she manages to get to her late game as soon as possible. Lyra on the other hand does a lot of healing, and everyone knows about that. So we're looking at a possible bleed coming in from Glaive as a weapon power Glaive and a crystal power cause Baptiste. So you're possibly looking at a lot of burst damage coming in from Intensity VG to deny Fadito's burst heal, or deny Lyra's heal over time to last as soon as possible. But you're looking at a Rhyme pick coming in from Team Unity, so most of the burst will possibly get countered against Baptiste by the fortified health coming in from Savage OG. So you're possibly looking at a lot of late game domination coming in from Unity, but only if they manage to stay. But only if they manage to stay alive and manage to get their creeps as soon as possible. That's the time when Kestrel and Rhyme could possibly push their late game to the early few minutes. Intensity VG, Baptiste, and Glaive, everyone knows how easily Glaive can immediately dive into the back lines and push out an enemy from hiding and immediately focus him down with the assistance coming in from Catherine and Baptiste. Another set of defensive play coming in from both teams, as they have now seen how aggressively Intensity VG plays. So possibly staying on the defensive, Unity trying to force their gameplay to the lates and trying to win the game. But Glimmer Shot trying to take out the minions instead of focusing down Plot allows Plot to walk away without taking any damage. Troll taking a lot of damage with the basic shots coming in from Kuis. Kuis forced to stay in the back lines because he does not have enough energy for the Glimmer shots to do a lot of damage, but he does now start losing his creeps to the tower, to the turret. And Kuis not being able to get a lot of creeps in the early few minutes, but this is possibly going to change in the later few minutes, as he managed to get the Sorrow Blade in the if he can get his Sorrow Blade as soon as possible, and at least in the first 4 minutes. Not a Troll and Plot putting a lot of pressure onto Kestrel, forcing Kestrel to stay very defensive and stay under turret all the time, as they fear a stun coming on to Kuis. That's an attempted afterburn to pick off Kuis, but they misclick. Glaive misclicks onto Fadito, pushing Fadito into the back lines. Rhyme does manage to get the first Elder Treant, now just roaming towards the center to possibly start capturing the second Elder Treant. We're looking at an aggression coming in from Kaz against Savage OG. Savage OG catching out Kaz. Kaz taking a lot of damage from the from the Treant. Now the Treant turns around, Roots Rhyme. That's the name. Roots Rhyme, but Samuel does Baptiste does manage to take the Treant from right under Savage OG. Up in the lane, Kestrel and Glaive are doing relatively well in the creeps. Just a 3 CS difference, nothing more than that. So both teams are doing relatively better in the lane play right now. You're looking at a moderate 6k goal on both sides at the first 2 minutes. So goal-wise, objective-wise, both teams are doing relatively well compared to the first game where they had lost about 500 gold in the first few minutes. 3 minutes in and not any first blood, but Fadito does get caught out by an afterburn and Ordain, and he gets a lot of damage coming in from Twisted Strokes from Glaive, and that's going to be first blood coming in from Glaive. So Unity have to play defensively to prevent a possible snowball, just like what happened in the previous game, and not lose this game to a lot of damage. That's the second afterburn coming in for Glaive onto Kestrel, taking out Kestrel almost immediately. Rhyme does decide to go into the deeps, trying to toss out a root onto I'm Not a Troll, but Glaive runs away from the range off the roots coming in from Savage OG. Glaive being extremely defensive and Rhyme being extremely aggressive, placing himself behind I'm Not a Troll. Glaive placing himself right behind Plot against any possible damage. I'm Not a Troll has to play defensively as he has lost all of his energy, and Savage OG on the other hand has to now start building more crystal damage, as he's already built a lot of damage already. In his pocket he has about 50, 60, 70 crystal power. That is equivalent to about a heliogenesis explosion. So the intensity VG have to be slightly careful whenever they play right now, as Rhyme can survive a lot of damage if he managed to build up his fortified health, but if he's not being able to do that, then he can easily survive the damages coming in from intensity. He cannot survive the damages coming in from intensity VG. Fadito getting severely out positioned and forced to use his fountain is now playing defensively, as he cannot do much without a fountain, and his team cannot do much as well. Ordain coming in on to Lyra, forcing her to stay in a small radius, gets away from any possible danger, and walks Kestrel and Rhyme are now back up in lane to collect the last few goals coming in from the minions up in lane. Five minutes in, and Catherine does get rooted by Savage OG. You're looking at the level 6 on Rhyme, so that could be a lot of damage coming in from the Valkyrie, but he does not have his Frostburn yet, so he may not be able to slow the targets as soon as possible. Baptiste, on the other hand, managed to get himself a Shatterglass and gets more cooldown items, so possibly building towards a Clockwork to get his two Bad Mojo stacks per empowered mode. I'm Not a Troll and Plot are now forced to move the back lines, trying to decide to be aggressive instead and get the center, the middle Treant, and get themselves out position, out rotate Unity, and manage to dish out a lot of damage onto Kestrel, taking out Kestrel in a blink because of Bad Mojo and Twisted Stroke shots. Lyra could not survive the damage coming in from Not a Troll as well. Savage OG comes up in lane trying to protect the turret from the damages coming in from Catherine and Glaive. Glaive and Catherine tossing in a double stun onto Rhyme. They manage to pick off Rhyme almost immediately. I'm Not a Troll and cause continue to damage the tower, but Kuis comes back up in lane, dropping in a lot of possible glimmer shots onto Team Unity, onto Team Intensity VG. Catherine does rotate up in lane to protect the tower, protect the turret from taking any more damage from the glimmer shots. That's a one-shot, one-kill that goes off, but misses. Does not connect with Plot, so Plot walks away with almost full, almost quarter health, not losing any health from the previous team fight. Lyra, on the other hand, is being extremely defensive by using the flares and flaring out the glaive whenever they go into a team fight. Intensity VG did decide to start the gold miner, and the gold miner does get feared away, and that's one gold miner in the pocket itself. Intensity VG, Lyra getting out position. Ryan taking a lot of damage from Intensity VG and can now build up his fortified health stacks, and Kaz managing to toss in a lot of empowered bad mojos. Kestrel, on the other hand, gets deleted almost instantly by I'm Not a Troll using a sister stroke and crit shots. That's an ace coming in from Intensity VG. They will be forcing the minion wave towards the turret and possibly taking out 2 turrets with the wave coming in towards the turrets. Ram is back up, that must be kept in mind, so it means that he will be there to prevent the turret from being destroyed. But Intensity VG do decide to rotate downwards to capture Savage, to capture Rhyme out of position, but decide to stay defensive, walk away out of the enemy jungle. One shot, one kill does connect onto Plot. Plot does get away from the damage. Cause does get away, but afterburn onto Rhyme. That Rhyme gets immediately destroyed by a lot of damage, a lot of burst damage coming in from the bad mojo. Intensity VG kind of continue to follow Lyra, and Lyra gets away from any possible danger coming in from Cause and Plot. Batiste continues to take out the Crystal Sentry, and they will confirm the capture on the Crystal Sentry, and does not have enough stacks to get his empowered mode, but does get enough stacks so that if he gets in the next fight, he will be ready to dish out a lot of burst damage. 700 damage onto Rhyme and Kestrel, because they do not have any crystal protection, so that means a lot of item advantage, a lot of numbers advantage coming in for Intensity VG against Team Unity. One thing to notice is that there is roughly a 4k gold lead and no kills coming in the hands of Team Unity. Most of the kills that is coming in is because Glaive is managing to outposition Team Unity. And whenever that happens, Kestrel cannot dish out enough damage, or Ryan cannot stick onto targets for long, just because they're able to move around very easily. That afterburn onto Kestrel. Kestrel getting out position, and the Valkyrie trying to save Team Unity, but Intensity VG does manage to take out Kestrel, but the turret helps taking out Glaive, and that's continued follow up onto Intensity VG. Savage taking a lot of damage, Ryan taking a lot of burst damage, does die to the burst coming in from the bad mojo, empowered bad mojos and ordained. Vadio taking even more damage from the ordained and bad mojo. He will die to the empowered Batiste. Batiste continues to stick onto the lane, dishing out a lot of damage onto the tower. The turret will be taken out by Batiste. That's a continued follow onto Kestrel. Kestrel does turn the game around by catching Batiste and Catherine in the active came-up trap. I'm Not a Troll tries to follow Kestrel trying to stun out I'm Not a Troll, but he does use his reflex block in the last few moments. Ryan trying to take out I'm Not a Troll, but Troll surviving very well in the team fight with his Bloodsong stacks. Ryan tries to get back into the team fight, trying to catch it I'm Not a Troll, trying to take him out, but does take a lot of damage from the Twisted Stroke and Bloodsong. I'm Not a Troll does not have any energy, but does get caught out by the one shot, one kill coming in from Kestrel, so he does die to the Kestrel. So that is some more kills coming in the hands of Team Unity. So that is going to be a lot of gold in the pockets of Team Unity. Kestrel gets a lot of gold in her pocket herself, so the 4k gold lead right back then is now converted into a 6k although it's a 6K, they managed to get a lot of kills for themselves. Intensity VG, on the other hand, are being slightly aggressive, taking out the center treant, the middle enemy treant. They will decide to catch out the gold miner and try to catch the gold miner before Team Unity get close to it, and that's going to be one captured, possibly captured gold miner for Team Intensity VG. Intensity do manage to spot out Team Unity by the scout trap, and Unity taking in a lot of damage. The Savage Woody turns the game around by the one-shot, one-kill assist coming in from Kestrel, but they do not manage to take the gold miner. But Sun's coming in from Team Intensity VG. That's a double kill coming in from Rhyme, and Kestrel managed to do a lot of damage onto Catherine. That's a counter ace. A second ace coming in for Intensity VG, and that's going to be one down. Crystal Sentry. That's a lot of gold in the pockets of Team Unity as they continue to push their minion waves and try to catch out the back jungles. Unity doing a really good job trying to outposition, catch out Glaive all the time, as they know that most of the damage is coming out from the Glaive. Cause, on the other hand, is just staying around, continuing to stack up, but the moment he runs out of his empowered mode, that's when Unity can turn around and take out Cause almost immediately. Team Unity now decided to play defensively, place themselves right behind the wall, but little do they know that Intensity VG are forcing themselves into the enemy choke, and that's Fearsome Shades coming on to Team Unity, forcing them to get away from the fight and letting Cause survive the team fight, but Plot and I'm Not a Troll taking a lot of damage by the Kestrel shots, and one shot, one kill connecting onto Cause. And Glaive and Catherine are now dead, but Rhyme tries to follow Cause. But Cause does manage to slow down Team Unity, gets away using his boots and gets away from the team fight. A lot of good plays coming in from Team Unity, getting a 2K gold gap closure to close the 6K gold lead down to a 4K gold lead. Kestrel now did manage to get herself an Aegis and is now building towards her fourth critical item, so most important item, the Tyrant's Monocle. Possibly going to be another Tornado Trigger, either of the two, but that means that she's confirming a lot of crit damages, crit chances for her basic shots and her Glimmer shots. Rhyme does have these two items and is constantly building defensive items, so he's trying to be as tanky as possible to body block for Kestrel, while Kestrel managed to dish out a lot of explosive damage onto Intensity VG. One shot, one kill does manage to connect onto Cause, and Cause forced to move in the backline, says that's all that he can do. Tossing in a bad mojo onto Unity. Unity does get a 3-man silence. Glaive does go inside. The dishes out a lot of damage by the Twisted Stroke and the Blood Song, but does manage to take out Kestrel. Kestrel is now down, and Glaive. Ryan is the only one trying to dish out a lot of damage. He does do a lot of bruising damage onto Intensity VG. Intensity VG forced to get out of the enemy jungle, and that's the dive onto Ryan. Ryan does get immediately destroyed. That's a counter portal. Big mistake coming in from Fadito, as he does get caught out by his own portal, as Intensity VG dive way too deep and take him out, and the Crystal Sentry. Now they're going to start focusing the Kraken and possibly push the game for win. 600 damage is coming in from the empowered bad mojos onto the Kraken. It's going to be very easily captured. Kraken is possibly going to be captured by Intensity VG, and now they're going to be forcing the wave towards a relatively big wave towards towards Team Unity. Glaive does manage to get out of the active camo trap in the last few moments, and Kestrel does not manage to land any of the stun shots onto Glaive. But Intensity VG are ready for a fight, and that's in one shot, one kill connecting onto I'm Not a Troll. Cause taking slight damages from the Ice Spires. Winter Spires, my bad. That's an afterburn coming in onto Kestrel. Kestrel managed to get away from the fight, but does get caught out by the Bloodsong and Twisted Stroke, and does die to Glaive. And now that's an item silence coming onto Lyra. Lyra cannot use any of her abilities, but Glaive does manage to die by the enemy Sanctuary. Cause continuing to dish out a lot of damage onto Fadito, but does die to Fadito, does die to Cause by the Fadito does die to Cause by the bad mojo shot. Savage OG being forced to move into the backlines, collecting more energy from the Sanctuary so that he can come back up to lane and try to take out the Kraken. That's a attempt of Fearsome Shade coming in onto Savage OG, forcing him away, but Kestrel is the one who's targeted, and Kestrel gets forced away from the Kraken. Kraken constantly doing a lot of damage on the turrets. The first turret will go down, the second Vayne turret is left. The Vayne turret will go down in a couple seconds, and he does go down. I'm Not a Troll do have a lot of gold back in their pocket. We're looking at a rather better gameplay coming in from Intensity V Team Unity than the first game, as Team Unity do a lot of this time Team Unity is continuing to focus out I'm Not a Troll, as he does have a lot of damage, but it's all in the burst that he has in his hands. So if you manage to get away from the burst damage, that's when you can continue focusing down Glaive. But late game is here, and that's a Fearsome Shade coming in on to Lyra and Rhyme. Kestrel is being forced away by I'm Not a Troll. That's a lot of stick coming in by Kestrel, coming in by Glaive onto Kestrel, and Cause is very low on health. He just managed to get away from the Winter Spires coming in from Rhyme. Rhyme does try to take out Glaive, but he's taking a lot of damage, and he knows the target to take out in this team fight would be Rhyme, and Rhyme would be Lyra, and Lyra gets taken out, so there's going to be no more heal for Rhyme to survive in this team fight. So now Intensity VG are taking their team towards victory by taking out the last turret, but Kuis is there to protect his turret from a possible push coming in from Intensity VG. That's an afterburn onto Kestrel. Kestrel does manage to get away, and that's a missed Fearsome Shades, and that's all that Intensity VG can do. You one shot, one kill, tries to connect onto I'm Not a Troll. I'm Not a Troll does survive, gets away from the one shot, one kill in the last moment. Intensity VG on the other hand now decided to capture the Kraken once again, trying to take the Kraken towards victory this time, as Team Unity cannot do anything. Is the only cooldown that they had left to capture the Kraken with is now gone, and Kestrel, being out of position severely, gets caught out by the Ordain, gets destroyed almost immediately. Deletions coming in from Intensity VG and item sounds coming on to Lyra, and Ryan getting caught out by Baptiste and Catherine. They have to do something, as Savage OG does manage to use his Husk to survive the damage, but continues to build up his fortified health by sticking onto the target. But Cause is dishing out a lot of damage with his bad mojo shots, but Ryan does get caught out by the Glaze afterburn, but survives for a long time, but does get caught out by the extra stunts coming in from Plot. Lyra getting item silence once again, cannot use any of her abilities, and that's an ace coming in for Intensity VG. And Kestrel on the other hand is trying to focus down the Kraken, and Intensity VG is now inside the enemy sanctuary, trying to push out Kestrel from a team fight. Glaive getting severely out position and getting caught out by the active camo trap. Does manage to lose against Kestrel. That's a bad mojo shot onto Kestrel in the last few bits of her health. That's going to be second game in the hands of Intensity VG. Good game for Intensity VG, as they managed to get this game towards victory against Team Unity for the second time in a row, and take the victory, take the first place in the Lunaris North American Tournaments for the weekend. With this, we come to an end of our stream, and we'd like to thank Team Lunaris for sponsoring the events. And go check out twitter.com/Lunaris, and go on Tournament and search for Lunaris Tournaments every weekend for either 3v3 drafts or a 1v1 Blitz rounds. And until then, have a good one.